I put pictures on Facebook of what Claude and I have been working on out here in terms of electroculture. And I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to show you the sky. So you can see there is, right above me right now, what will we call it? Aerosol in a line in the sky. Chris Vincent, who is my friend from Vermont, also declared that this was the first time there has been a blue sky here in months. And that is because Claude and I put several different electrocultures, but then yesterday I was like, honey, we're gonna make a double helix. This is the double helix. And it's very hard to see right now, but I have a picture of it. And the way we did the double helix is we got like a thickness of copper that I knew I would be able to work with. And it was in a roll, like a giant circular roll. And then the two ends at the top have a safety cap. And those were my top. And what I did was I took those two ends and I stretched them out. And I have photos of how I did all of this. And I stretched those out, and then Claude held the bottom of the circle, okay? And then we planted the bottom of the circle with 2 or 3 different coils a foot down in the ground on top of a crystal. And then we also have a grounding crystal in the color red right there. And then I put a few crystals coming up on the side. Then I tied the central point with a crystal, and then there's more crystals on the way up, and then it acts as an antenna. So you can see the aerosol. They're trying to do this again since this morning. Now, New Hampshire has a Clear Skies Act. New Hampshire was the first state to do the Anti-geoengineering Act, all right? And then Florida and several other states did it. And so what we saw today was the hologram of a plane, and it is a hologram, and it was trying to make more of those blockages to our sun. If you can make enough of these coils, and we also have several little coils in the yard, so we have like these little ones that I also made, like here's one next to the mullein plant, and you make it deep into the ground. Like this one's only 6 inches, the big one's a foot. And then you put like a little crystal on top, and then you make an antenna. Because who is doing this is not the government. Who is doing this is the Anunnaki, the Orions, and the slaves of those beings, which are called the Dracos. So I know there are lots of books about how the sky is completely destroyed. We are aware of those books. I think the one woman is called Elana Freeland. But you have to understand, like, this is electroculture that Tesla came up with. This is literally pulling down negative ions. And there was one professor from Finland who was actually able to pull like a column of the aurora borealis straight down through the sky as a column of light. And I can't think of that Finnish doctor, but he was from the 1800s. So I posted his stuff in an electroculture group. All right, but you can see they're trying to do it again right there. But as Chris agreed, we have not seen the sun up here in New England. I got up here like June 1st, but already it had been like 3 or 4 or even 6 months of no one had seen the sky. So I got on this and I made them all over the yard. So this is 1, 2, and it has the crystal on top. And you can see the crystal. And I mark them with ribbons. I put crystals up and down. I have them in the yard in such a way that they also make patterns. So I have one down below next to the other wheelbarrow and the elderberry tree, and then I have some on the side gardens. And what I'm seeing this year is Claude's dealing with a lot of pests that have never existed before. Now, I've been a gardener my entire life. I was raised on a farm, and I've been gardening my whole life, and we don't even know what these pests are. So I think this is part of the onslaught by the satanic space fleet, which you would call the Jehovian Anunnaki, and the various reptilian and insectoid factions. So I'm just walking along here because I'm going to show you a little bit more electroculture. And remember, Claude and I are doing this. We just bought this little 2-acre plot in 2020 when we realized what was going on. And we left the Vermont property, which was totally like they've fiber opticed the entire ground system in Vermont. So we had to get out of there. But what we found was we could not get squash to grow because of the level of, overhead aerosols. So we made these little electrocultures that pull down the negative ions and then pull down like minerals and nutrients for the plant, because the plant cannot figure out how to defend itself when it's already dealing with the aerosols in the sky. So I'm just going to show you the blueberries, and there's herbs and sunflowers, and then our big main garden is in there, and I might walk you through. Now, just like the plants, we are all suffering and need to do a cleanse. So I took a picture this morning of something that I just bought for the next full moon. So 5 days minimum before the full moon and 5 days after a full moon. You have to hit the parasites in your body, and I'm not going to speak for you. I will be hitting the parasites in my body really hard, and during that time you can't do it like halfway job, because then the mother will lay more eggs and she'll put out a hormone that will make it like crazy amount are hatching out in you. So you have to do it full blown with an herbal type of a tincture. And at that time, you also need to take the binder, which I'm going to use psyllium husk. And I took a picture and I put it on the YouTube community post. And I'm going to show you this tiny little electroculture right here with the crystal on top. And basically, we got that copper from old wiring at the dump out of the back of a refrigerator or a freezer, and you strip the plastic off. And that's how you can keep your plants healthier. Otherwise, look at this one that doesn't have the electroculture. You see the difference with all the holes? That's what the inside of many people's bodies look like now. Because we're all in need of cleanse and support. Whereas this one over here with the electroculture, right? The rod is right there. Look at this plant. Do you see the difference? So even though the sky is under assault and we are under assault, you can do something about it. You can do it. And in terms of the double helix that I did up in the backyard, like, I had no idea what I was doing. I used my intuition. I knew that it could work, so I did it. And here's Claude out here doing some stuff in the yard. And our yard is very natural. Like, we had a bear go through the backyard, which is why I keep everything pretty fenced. And the raspberries are fenced and the blueberries are kind of inside the fence. But here is St. John's wort. And this is comfrey over here. So we live in such a way that this is the land of Lalita, Claude, and Ezzy, and we figured out how to live like this. But in terms of my cleanse in my body, I will do that 5 days before the full moon when the mother is in her reproductive cycle. Also 5 days immediately after the full moon. So like you've got 10 days and you need to hit it hard with what's called a binder. And if psyllium is not available, and psyllium, I'm just actually looking for a plantain out here in the driveway. Psyllium comes from the seed husk of a plantain. And you want to get them scraped off too. Okay, so that's really important. And everybody's got this. And the herbalist that I just spoke to at the market, you know, she knew everything like I know what's going on right now too. And she said she does it minimum 4 times a year. So we're going to be doing that 4 times a year also. And now that we've cleared the sky, like look at this wonderful sunflower actually knows where the sun is. And Claude works really hard out here. I kind of let him take over the gardening. He has the Virgo ascendant, so that gives him a lot of security in his character and his emotional body, because that's his first house, and that gives him vitality and keeps him alive. And this is literally where he like picks our wild strawberries, and everything's mixed up. So the tomato, you can't even see the copper coil in there because it's buried by the tomato. But mustard, strawberries, cilantro, all mixed up. And we eat a lot of cilantro too because it takes the heavy metals out of your body. So we eat cilantro nonstop. So that's what I wanted to show you. And the other thing is my friend Chantel made an excellent live video yesterday. She was talking about the use of the AI. So whether it's called ChatGPT or Grok or Claude, or even they have one called Aurora. My favorite names, right? Claude and Aurora. Well, anyways, they have these, and so many of the indigos have been using that stuff that what are called the pillars are falling here, and it's very concerning, folks. You have to realize that when you use that kind of stuff, you're getting a lobotomy, but it's also neuro-linguistic programming. So it's the fire codes are being changed in your divine blueprint. You cannot use that stuff, folks. And also, you know, the 5G plus is on, and Zuckerberg is doing some giant project above Manhattan for the Internet of Bodies. And my gosh, folks, get out of those places, because as Dan Winter said, if you're an electrosmog, you're losing your soul, because your soul is your light body that is being blown to bits by the 5G plus, folks. Now here's an electroculture right here, and that tiny little collection of breadseed poppy, look at how abundant and crazy that is. Because I have this one little electroculture here. And the way you can, you know, edge your garden is just with leaves. So hopefully you're seeing that. There's kind of a weird shadow. Let me get into the shade. So back to, you know, surviving and not losing your light body, which you absolutely need, folks. Because what Chantel was posting about, and also a friend, Jamie, who is in contact with the Guardians. Basically, it seems like, and I don't know for a fact, but there's an evacuation that is going to happen, and you need your light body to do that, all right? And only people who still have their divine blueprint are even going to be able to do this. So keep your light body strong. This is absolutely essential, folks. Do your parasite cleanse, eat clean, you know, get your food at the farmer's market, because as the little directions say that I put on the community page today, if you're eating from the grocery store and the farmer's market, like, you got to do that parasite cleanse all the time, because my friend Mary Ellen put a video up of like baby food from the store, and you put it in a Ziploc bag and draw a magnet underneath. They're putting that stuff in everything in the store. So you have got to get food from farmers markets. Start going directly to farmers and getting your food. And also with the animals, like Ezzy started saying absolutely not to her premium dog food. And I was like, okay, that's it. She's saying no to premium dog food. So we get all of her food from the farmer's market too. And this is an interdimensional war. This is really serious. People don't realize what is happening. I'm just letting you see my hops. My hops are starting to flower here. People don't realize what's happening, but we are at war. It's a war of infiltration, and it's interdimensional. Also, somebody asked me a question yet again about what is Earth. And I answered again that Earth is just like you or I. It's a consciousness. It has a torus field, like a biofield. It has a star Merkaba, just like you or I, which is its light body. It exists as part of the larger time space of the multiverse. It's very important. And according to the core of Earth is still okay, but everything on the surface is infected with AI, including you and I, which is why I'm going to be hitting this parasite cleanse pretty hard. And, I would say that Earth also has a soul, which is the consciousness that it resides in, just like you or I. So I can get into these questions of whether it's flat or whether it's round, because it's neither of those. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, is Lalita flat or round? Is Lalita flat or round? She's a holographic consciousness that operates inside of a torsion field that also has a star Merkaba, and my star Merkaba happens to be spinning the correct way, so I don't have the reversals. That is going the right way. That corresponds to then my energy field, and field is my true body. Okay, so Jamie suggests that we will likely drop the body and you will need your star Merkaba to do what is going to happen next here, because we've reached a dead end. You've probably all heard OBGYN people are all saying we're at an end. There's no more ability to physically procreate, and that's kind of why we have to go through. And so that's when I've talked about being part of the secret society of humans that will continue the divine human, and that is very important. Let me try and think of what the other questions were that people had this week. Oh yeah, and more. I will do more on the astrology tomorrow, because people are still confused about why I'm using the theme of Monday, the Tropic of Cancer, the Tropic of Capricorn, and that Cancer's the first house, because that is how you are supposed to be brought in through a water birth, with emotional safety, with a deeply supported mother. So if Claude has a Virgo ascendant, that's the sign or the seasonal depiction that he uses for the emotional security and emotional safety and nurturance for his particular body. But you understand, it's the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. It has very little to do with the actual constellation of Cancer. And that's where everybody gets confused. It's because when this system was set up, and Uriel explained it however many thousands of years ago, it was called that because there's a procession of all the stars. They all move except for Polaris. Polaris and the Great Bear, the Great Dipper. Polaris is always stationary, and the Great Dipper moves around, what people call the Big Dipper. It moves around in a pattern called the swastika. But everything else is moving, like Mars is not in Cancer, right? So it's moving, right? So, but it's still the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, and it's still when the sun is at its highest. Now we are moving into the seasonal depiction of Leo, which has nothing to do with the constellations. It's when the earth is going through its dog days of summer. And I had said in a video, that's when you pick self-heal when the dog star is rising. And in fact, that is perfect because I will take you back to our self-heal. That is exactly when self-heal is ripe. So in terms of telling time, that's how we navigate. We don't necessarily use computers and clocks and, bank hours, but this is right here, our self-heal, which is an anti-mutagen, and the self-heal is ripe when the dog star is rising. So anyways, I hope that video helps you a little bit with some of the questions that came in this week. Great news that I will be able to do a conversation with Nish again on the Cosmic Salon. So there, I'm not so limited on what I say because of the censorship. So that's good. We'll be doing that in August sometime, and we'll get that out to you about the next eclipses, because I'm telling you, it's all there, folks. It's really obvious that this system environment is explaining what is next. So you can read the stars. You can understand it's a scripted situation that needs to happen right now. So yeah, some people are asking me questions. I don't see, it seems like the same person again and again calling himself or herself Monster Potter. So I hope this loads and it's helpful in terms of how to function right now. And as I said, don't have attachments, because this thing is not consciousness. So this thing is not going through. So don't be attached to your stuff. All right. Ezzy, however, is consciousness, and consciousness will continue to exist. Wonderful little bumblebees in the variegated grass with clover. And you certainly need your bees too, folks. All right. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye for now. There I am, still under the sun. Hi. My voice is calm. You're gonna, oh yeah, Ashes to Ashes is gonna get some self-heal. Nice, everybody. Thank you so much.